Hi there, I'm Alex from Southern Ukulele Store, and I'm back here in the far corner of the shop with one of the coolest backdrops in the world, a wall of ukuleles. We all want this in our house. If you're watching this video, I should hope that you want this kind of thing in your house. Today we're going to take a look at 10 tenor ukuleles that you've either not heard of or you've not seen for a long time. 10 ukuleles that I would love to feature more often, but maybe just haven't had the chance in a shop full of new incoming instruments that need featuring. So we're going to go back today and look at some old favourites and reintroduce you to some newer models that maybe you haven't seen before. If you dig this kind of video, there are hundreds of these videos on the channel. I urge you to check out the rest of the videos on the Southern Ukulele Store YouTube channel. Give them a like, subscribe to the channel for more of this kind of thing most weeks. We're going to start with a maple ukulele today, and we're going to end with a maple ukulele. We're going to take a look at the Kai KTI 90, and we're going to roll it all the way around to the Enya Flower model. But what makes these things different? What makes one more expensive than the other? Hopefully we're going to answer that question along the way with 8 other ukuleles in between. We're going to start with that Kai KTI 90 now. Let's begin. First up today, folks, we're going to take a look at the KTI 90 by Kai. This ukulele is a fantastic starter ukulele option. If you're somebody out there now thinking, I really want to get into the ukulele, I don't want to spend too much, this ukulele at time of filming is the cheapest by far in this list today, at around £100 to £120. It's a laminate wood instrument, but don't let that put you off, because I often find that the very cheap solid top instruments really lack something that a good laminate instrument has. This is laminate maple. You can see it's a two-piece top here, but in most lights it kind of comes across as one colour tone. You have a technical wood fingerboard and bridge with a 35mm nut width. The secret to what makes this ukulele sound so good is this side sound port, which reflects a lot of the sound back to you, the player, which when you're a beginner is really quite novel, you know, being able to hear the eccentricities, those tiny things in your playing that will help you improve. A side sound port is a good option for that. Got some good closed back tuners. Don't worry about that discoloration, they're just stickers, one of them's come off. And yeah, this ukulele also comes with a really nice padded gig bag, so it's the complete starter package. All you need is a tuner. So yeah, let's give the Kai KTI 90 a play and see what you think. Okay, next up today we have something that looks a bit more traditional than that Kai. We have an AnueNue U3. Now, I feel guilty for not featuring this ukulele sooner. We had quite literally a palette of AnueNue ukuleles arrive earlier in the year with lots of models I'd not seen before, and the U3 kind of slipped through my net when I was featuring ukuleles in other videos. This is laminate mahogany with a rosewood fingerboard and bridge, a slightly wider 36mm nut width, which if you're somebody is thinking, well, 1mm won't make a difference. Trust me, to many players, this is the difference between an uncomfortable uke and a comfortable uke. You have some really lovely open back tuners. And this ukulele is also another one that comes with a gig bag included. So a fantastic option for a beginner, somebody looking to go to lessons and travel with it, maybe go to the uke club but doesn't want something too expensive. Despite being a laminate, this has that kind of smoky, soulful mahogany sound to it. You know, it's quite a warm, almost kind of honky ukulele when you play the middle strings. And yeah, the U3 is a great option. If you're a beginner or you're somebody there looking for a ukulele that you don't mind getting a bit knocked around in transit, this is a great option for you. I'm going to give it a play and see what you think. Now, I feel regretful about the Moon. This is the Moon ST. The reason I feel regretful is because I saw this ukulele several years ago at the NAMM show and I liked it, and I inquired about doing UMA, but at the time we decided there were other things from the show that were our priority, and thankfully a fantastic UK distributor called Stones Music bought UMA in, and I got this in my hands the other day and I thought, oh, this is so good, why didn't we do this sooner? This is the Moon ST, in case I forgot to do that in my rambling. It's a solid mahogany top with a maple soundhole rosette, so it looks classy. It actually looks like a Ukulele K3 ukulele, which is, you know, 10 times the price, with a maple kind of feature. I wouldn't call it an armrest because there's no beveled edge, but you know, it's a nice feature. Makes it a little bit asymmetrical, which a lot of people like. Not left-handed people, but you know, right-handed people like. You have a technical wood fingerboard and bridge with a 35mm nut width and those closed back UMA branded tuners. The Moon ST also comes with a gig bag. Another thing that you really, how do I explain it? If you were to look at the big boys, the brands that have been around for 10 years plus, if you're looking at their ukuleles at this price, they very rarely come with a gig bag. It's these slightly smaller, lesser known brands that offer the real quality and the real value for money, I often find. You know, this is another ukulele that well under £200, looks well over £200, feels fantastic. You wouldn't regret buying this over something like a Kala or an Ohana. It's just a solid alternative to something that maybe you've Googled good ukulele and something else has come up. Give the Moon ST a try if you see one in your local dealer, or better yet, get one from us. There'll be a link in the description. I'm going to give it a play now and see what you think. Okay, and we're going to move on to something now that to many of you will be familiar, but something that we haven't featured nearly enough in the past 12 months. This is the Baton Rouge UR71T. Now, I like this ukulele for two reasons. The first one being that this ukulele is unlike anything else you'll find under £200. It's simply unique, and that's really hard to do on a budget. This ukulele has a redwood top with maple backing sides, so it's a solid top and it's a really lovely figure top, and everyone is truly unique. If you see a dealer using a stock photo instead of actual photos of the one they're selling, it's probably going to look wildly different, because we regularly have 3 of these at a time delivered and we photograph them individually because they are that different. Laminate sported maple backing sides. There's a bit less sporting on this one, but you get the idea. With a slightly curved back, which you can't pick up very well in the video here, but that slightly curved back makes the instrument feel more comfortable against your body, and I believe it's actually done to increase projection. It's a solid choice. You have a walnut fingerboard and bridge with a 35mm nut width, but quite a nice chunky neck. So although you have the slender nut width here and probably a 27mm string spacing, you do have a really nice round neck on the Baton Rouge with open back tuners. And actually, just look at the front, the faceplate is really cool too, that Baton Rouge logo with the sported maple. And you have front and back maple binding to tie the two contrasting woods together. So aesthetically, it's very pleasing. I have forgot to mention the soundhole rosette, which I do every time, which is a really nice laser etched, stained like black, what do you call it? I want to call it a motif, but I feel like that's just a fancy way of saying what I've already said. The natural finish on this ukulele is quite cool too, because you can see the wood grain in the top, and quite often a satin or a natural matte style finish will hide those unique features, but not this time. Let's give the UR71T a play and see what you think. Okay, taking a look now at something a little bit more expensive. We're moving up now beyond £200. We're moving into that kind of beginner, moving on to intermediate price point for many people. And we're moving on to something, you know, perfect Christmas birthday present for somebody looking to move up the ladder, especially if you like blue. This is the Enya EUT-MAD. Strange name, let me break that down. Enya ukulele tenor MAD, don't really know. The finish on this ukulele is blue. It's a solid mahogany ukulele, all solid wood, solid top, back and sides, stained blue. Comes up in slightly green light under, so if you have like yellow light in your home, it looks more green. Under a bright white light, which is what I have shining here to the side, you can kind of see more the blue. It's actually a massive problem for us when we're photographing them for the website, because when we do them on a white backdrop, they come up so blue, like really vibrantly blue, and actually they're much more subtle than you would expect in the flesh. And it has caused a couple of you know, back and forths of customers who have received blue ones and think, well, it's more green. And I believe part of that is the way the instrument is made and then hits UV lights. So much like a lot of polyester gloss finishes, you know, they green over time. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that this ukulele has you know, a long lifespan. It will start its life off blue, and after a few years it might turn kind of a dark shade of green or a turquoise color. If that kind of thing puts you off, then maybe don't look at colored ukuleles at all, because I've seen that kind of thing across the board. A gloss finish on the top here with a satin finish on the necks, which is also still stained blue. You have these really cool inlays on the fingerboard, and I've forgotten the fingerboard material. I'm going to put it in the bottom of the screen here now. And the bridge style on an Enya is quite unique. You have these big slots which you can just put your knot straight into and pull it up to tension. Probably the quickest bridge to restring a ukulele with. You have a slightly wider nut width on this ukulele of 38mm. So if you're somebody with big hands or somebody that's playing fingerstyle and maybe wants a slightly wider string spacing, then this is a very good option for you. And despite having a very dark neck, you've got very nice light fret dots. So when you're looking down, you can see exactly where you are on the fingerboard. I know that's a concern for a lot of people. You have a slotted headstock, Enya slotted headstock there, with black open back tuners. And this ukulele, much like a lot of the Enyas, they thought of everything out of the box. You have a strap button here and a strap button here, so it's ready to go if you want to strap it to yourself and head on to the stage for an open mic night. I'm going to give this one a play and see what you think. The next ukulele we're going to feature today is a bit of a political choice on my part. We're going to feature the Flight Phantom. The Flight Phantom is one of the best ukuleles you can buy for under £400 in the world. It's well made, it looks the part, it's an instrument that has forced other brands to improve what they can offer at certain price points. That's the biggest compliment I can pay a ukulele. And the reason it's a political choice is because 2 or 3 weeks back, I featured a bunch of ukuleles in a video about flight. I think I even called it like the essential flight video, where we looked at the flight Carabo, which is another fantastic video with a fantastic range of ukuleles. I recommend you look at that. I'll put a little tag in the corner of the screen. And I didn't feature the Phantom because I didn't have one in stock. And a lot of people thought, well, the Phantom and the Carabo are the same price, so you obviously didn't feature the Phantom because you wanted to showcase the Carabo, which, may I add, is a very skeptical way to look at the world. I mean, I like the Flight Carabo a lot. I bought one, I have one, I play one, but I do really like the Phantom. If you're after a mellower sound, some people just want that island sound, that it's sweet, it's slightly complex, it's warm, and I really feel like the Flight Phantom is one of those ukuleles where when you move from a £200 budget to a £400 budget, you get something that feels like a drastic improvement on what's available at the lower price points. And the same can be said of most of the Flight ukes. Particularly if you compare Flight ukes at £200 to Flight ukes at this price point, because they make subtle detail changes, and it's clear first of all they're made in a different factory, so the factory quality control is better. You have rolled off fret edges on many of these models, so the frets are just slightly recessed into the fingerboard, or they're kind of cut off and clipped just before the end, so you get less of that kind of fret feel as you move up the fingerboard. But let's talk more about the uke itself, because I'm rambling on a bit, I'm sorry. This is solid acacia, top, back and sides. They all look drastically different once again, so feel free to contact us for photos of the individual ones. You have ebony front and back binding, and you have an ebony fingerboard and bridge. One thing I really like to comment about the Phantom is the way that they've dipped the fingerboard in at the end. So they've joined the fingerboard to the sound hole, but they've made it fashionable. You know, they've done something to make it look cool and feel like a detail. You have a pin bridge, like a Canalea, and you have a slotted headstock with the open back Flight tuners, and a 38mm nut width once again, so that you can feel a kind of wider string spacing, slightly chunkier neck in this hand when you're fretting, which is what a lot of people are looking for and they just simply can't find under this price point. Finally, the Flights are another ukulele that come with a gig bag, a very cool red gig bag, and I urge you to once again check out our Essential Flight video. I'll put a link in the description as well as in the tag in the top for more information about Flight ukuleles at this price point. But for now, let's give the Phantom a play and see what you think. Okay, next up today, we're going to take a look at the ukulele that kind of started it all. I remember 2016, 2017 time, we had a load of ukes on this wall here. This is a concert wall. And they all had a kind of Kala, Ohana, Lanakai, that kind of price point where everything was similarly priced. And there was a big jump up where you could get a Pono, and then there was a big jump up again where you could get something like a Koaloa Opio or a Big Island. But nothing really fit in between those gaps until this baby came along. This is the Snail SR04, and this ukulele is the ukulele that preceded the now famous S60T model. The SR04 has lots and lots of detail to it, but it's quite an understated ukulele at the same time. Solid acacia, really nicely figured acacia on all of them, on the top, back and sides. Straight grain on this one actually. You have an ebony fingerboard and bridge with an ebony scoop cutaway for access to higher frets, and you have an ebony armrest so you can lean over the ukulele, be more comfortable when you play, and articulate better. This ukulele feels very refined. In fact, there are lots of models that have come since this ukulele was introduced that have similar features at the price, but this one almost certainly came first, certainly to the UK. I can't speak for other countries, but we have a soft spot for the SR04. It's actually one of the few ukuleles with an armrest and scoop available right and left-handed. So if you're a lefty watching this, then this ukulele is available, I think, exclusively still at Southern Ukulele Store, left-handed. You have front abalone binding, and you have an abalone rosette. It does look like imitation abalone. It looks a little bit too clean to be the real deal, but I could be wrong. It depends what light you shine it in. You have closed back tuners, classic Snail closed back tuners there, and a 35mm nut width. So the ukulele feels a bit more compact in your hands. It's nice and precise. If you're somebody looking to move up to a tenor and you're used to smaller sizes, then the SR04 would be a good choice for you. Now, a lot of people, if they're making this video, they would have included the S60T. But I've talked about the S60T dozens and dozens of times. We know how good it is. We voted it our top uke of the year last year. And it's quite nice to take a step back and just reintroduce you to the ukulele that came before it, the ukulele that made Snail know that they could build a high-end ukulele on a budget. I'm going to give the SR-04TE a play and see what you think. One more thing to note, this ukulele has a really big dynamic range, even more than the Flight that I just played before it. This ukulele, big range of sounds. It's always worth mentioning stuff like that because some people are looking for a really versatile uke, and I think this is one of the more versatile ukes I've played in this list today. I'd like to move up now to the best-selling ukulele at this price for 2021. The Flight Fireball. Now, the Flight Fireball has been around now for just over a year and a half, and I don't think a day goes by where a customer doesn't ring me and ask me about one, or come into the shop and try one against the Mustang or the Carabao or other ukuleles that are more expensive. And the biggest compliment I can pay the Flight is that over the last 12 months, when we've been kind of reopening patches, this has been the ukulele that has drawn the most people to the shop. But why? To look at this one's quite a straight grained one, but they can be quite wacky looking. They can differ quite dramatically from one to the other. Once again, that's why it's really important to note that we list all of our Flight Fireballs individually on our website, because we don't want to send you something that looks dramatically different to a stock photo. So that's a really important thing to remember. All solid mango. Mango being a sweet sounding wood. It has textural undertones of koa. It has kind of a warmer, smoother, rounder low end sound like mahogany. I think mango is one of the most perfect ukulele woods out there, and I think a lot of you agree based on how popular this instrument is. You have a side sound port, which is really nicely decorated. I call it the spider's web, but I know it has a slightly more technical name than that. And the body is gloss, but the neck is satin, so it feels nice and lived in, and it feels kind of comfortable from the off. You have a pin bridge with the spider's eyes bridge pins, which are kind of a ruby red color, really nice decorative feature as well. And you have a rosewood fingerboard and bridge with side mounted dots too. So when you're looking over, not only do you see the side fret dots, these ones, but you see these ones too. So it just makes for a more cohesive kind of feel when you're looking down at it, and you don't necessarily feel panicked when you're playing it in the dark, you know. A 38mm nut width, so once again slightly wider carved neck for people who prefer finger picking or people that want slightly wider spacing between the strings. And you have an ebony, to take a step back, you have a dyed maple rosette. I've called it plastic 3 or 4 times in other videos, but Flight correct me every time and I forget to change what I say in the videos in the future. A dyed maple rosette with wood binding, and the same kind of thing here for the armrest. This ukulele also has a pickup. There's the jack socket, and inside the sound hole there are the volume and tone controls. So you can affect it on stage, but there's no built-in tuner or kind of big chunky box drilled into the side. It's a bit more subtle. But for now, if you've got £500 to spend on a ukulele, this is absolutely packed with features. They're pretty, they are aesthetically and orally pleasing. They're great. Let's give this Fireball a play and see what you think. If the Fireball is so good, why would you spend £100 more on another ukulele? That's a question I get asked all the time, and my response to that is to show people this ukulele, the Millar SP260W. The SP260W doesn't have the kind of fancy looking wood of the Flight Fireball or the Phantom. It's a bit more of a workman's tool, but when you hold it, it weighs nothing. Despite being a tenor, it's by far the lightest ukulele I'm going to show you today in the hands. And everything about this ukulele feels a bit more like it's been designed by a single builder and seen through to completion. This is the Millar SP260W, a ukulele made with solid spruce top and solid acacia back and sides. Really nicely figured acacia on the back there. Forget what I said about it not being nice. Look, it's holographic. It looks when you actually shine it in different lights, you get a completely different visual experience from it. You have front maple binding on the sides with a maple and rosewood rope binding around the front and rosette. You have a rosewood fingerboard and bridge with a slotted headstock, Millar slotted headstock being one of the sexiest slotted headstocks in the business. And then you have these slightly aged Goto machine heads on the side with the white buttons, and I really like, there's a slight marble effect to the button that's really hard to get in the videos, but I'm going to try anyway. You have a 35mm nut width with a very pronounced volute in the neck at the nut, so if you're playing kind of blind, you're looking down, you will find the first position of this ukulele naturally. It won't get in your way or obstruct you, but it will kind of guide the way as you play. The Millars have a 35mm nut width with quite a shallow neck carve, and the neck carve, if you imagine, most of what we're going to look at is kind of a C shape. So it kind of just goes back in on itself. I'm turning a C sideways, but if you do it this way around, it's that kind of way. The way the Millar's neck is carved is a bit more of a U, so there's a kind of flat point just in the center where your thumb goes. And a lot of people really bond with how this instrument feels when they try it. And it's one of a series of ukuleles that Millar make that really defy what you can expect to get for the money. I'm going to give the SP260W a play and see what you think. Okay, the final ukulele we're going to look at today is probably the biggest feast for the eyes. This is the Enya EUT-FLOWER, the flower tenor, named because of this inlay running up the fingerboard. Look at that inlay, absolutely gorgeous. It's amazing what you can do with modern building techniques. This kind of thing, if it was hand inlaid like you would find on, say, a Sumi, would set you back £4,000, but you know, modern laser cutting techniques and ways that people can inlay directly onto the wood have made something like this affordable to the masses in many instances. But this ukulele is quite a bit more than just a kind of visual feast. The wood is flamed maple. It's hard to show up in this blue light, but you can see some real flaming there to the wood. Flaming being this kind of streaky wood grain. You also have quilted maple, which has almost like tiny dimples and imperfections. Flame maple is an interesting wood, one of my favourite woods, and a lot of you hear me bang on about how much I like mango, but maple is also great on ukuleles because it's rich, it's warm, it's really well rounded, so you get a really lovely bass response if you play low G. But if you play high G, you get this kind of subtle undertone from the C string, like a real kind of warm undercurrent of sound. And it's not an often used wood, but it's something a bit different, and it can be quite heavy. So this ukulele, for example, feels a bit heavier than the Millar that I've just shown off, but there's so much going on this ukulele that you can kind of forgive it. You have a gloss body underneath that flame, on top of that flame maple, and the binding is Padouk mixed with plastic and ebony, so you have a 3-ply binding. It's quite hard to show up in the light, but hopefully you can see it. And that binding is front and back. And I like the sharp lines of the binding going against the horizontal grain of the wood. This is the first flower that I've ever seen, so I don't know whether this is a common thing, but visually I'm really impressed with this ukulele. You have a satin neck, stained blue once again, looks like a mahogany neck with ebony fingerboard and bridge, and once again it's that slot bridge that you see on Enya's where you can just tie a knot in your string, pop it in, pull it up. It's the simplest bridge design with a strip down the back which mirrors the Padouk ebony and plastic for the binding. This ukulele also has a Florentine cutaway. What's a Florentine cutaway? A Florentine cutaway is a cutaway that has a sharp point at the edge rather than just kind of dips down at a right angle. This one dips back up. And it does add something to this ukulele to look at, which is quite the feat really when you look at how much this ukulele already has going for it visually. You have gold tuners with amber buttons, closed back, and a 38mm nut width, because it just seems to be the common trend that as players progress up to the kind of 500 plus price points, the wider string spacing becomes more of a feature that people are looking for in their ukulele. So you will see a greater proportion of ukuleles over £500 have a wider nut width. What else do I need to say? Oh yeah, this ukulele comes with a really cool bag. I recommend checking out the link in the description, having a look at the bag. Really nice, kind of, if we were to sell that bag separately, it would fetch £40–50 by itself. Yes, the Enya EUT-FLOWER, great ukulele to end on today. Let's give it a play and see what you think. Look, we've looked at 10 ukuleles now. I would really love to hear what you think in the comments section. If there's ukuleles on the Southern Ukulele Store website that you're thinking, why hasn't Alex featured that recently? Let me know. It may well be that I add it to another video in the coming weeks. As we head into Christmas, I really hope this video introduced some of you to new ukuleles that maybe you hadn't thought of before. And if you have any questions, You can always call us in store on 01202 430 820 or email me at alex@ukulele.co.uk. If you really dug me being back here by the wall of ukuleles, maybe you preferred the sound samples, let me know. I'm always interested in hearing that kind of feedback. But for now, have a good day and I'll see you soon.